Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're doing What If Deku Had a Telekinesis Quirk, part number 3. So in the last part, we went over the entrance exam and the physical test, or the physical quirk test that Izawa had the students of 1A take on the first day of school. So yeah, if you haven't watched the last part, you really should watch the full thing. Leave a like. It helps me out. I don't get paid for this, but it makes me feel better about myself and be happy. So, yeah, please do that, brother. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. So, Deku wakes up the next day, puts on his backpack. He doesn't do his hair because he doesn't do his hair. Instead of walking to school, he jogs to school because he needs his daily cardio, of course, because he wants to stay fit to be really, really strong. And since he does martial arts, he has to stay fit for that. So he jogs to school. He makes it there first, like every day, like on the first day. A couple minutes later, everybody else comes in, and yeah. So, nothing really happens for the first month. It's just regular school, math, science, social studies, and ELA, all that stuff a high schooler would take, like global, living, stuff like that. So yeah. So, after that first month of just normal school, the students are gonna start the hero training because that's the whole reason they're in UA, to become good heroes, and that's the purpose they took the entrance exam, is to become heroes. So after they finish doing their regular school day of just learning about what regular people do at school, they actually have an extra period after school, so they have to stay longer at school. Everybody from class 1A, they have classes together. Everybody, they're sitting at their seats just waiting, because they want to see like what's the first day of hero training, like what's gonna go on. So 10 minutes later, All Might comes in with his flashiness and says, "I am here." And yeah, so everyone claps like, "Oh yay, it's All Might." And Deku's like just slowly nodding his head because he's not really, like, he doesn't really get super like shocked when All Might comes in the room because he's good friends with them. He was training with them for like 3 months during the summer, and he knows the secret of One for All. And he's like, All Might's like a father figure to Izuku, so he's like, you don't get excited when your dad comes in the room and starts cheering. Unless you do. Well, I don't do that, but So yeah. So All Might explains what they're gonna be doing today, and he says it's gonna be a hero versus villain hero exercise. And he says first we have to go to this part of the school where there's a fake building, a fake city, and we're gonna be fighting this one building. And yeah, so they all walk there. Oh, but before, I forgot to mention, All Might says that the suits you sent in pictures or a sketch of your design you wanted are here. And yeah, so he says they're in the back of the room with your seat, because there was their seat has a number, and it has the same number as their seat does. So Deku goes over. He has the same hero fit, since it was inspired by All Might. He's not gonna have the pre one where he looks really goofy. He's gonna have the one he does in the thumbnail, the one with the mouth guard, with the black and green and red, and all the cool version, basically the upgraded version of the first one he had, because well, I like that more, and there's no point of having the first one. What's really the point? You just whatever. So yeah, so Deku has that one. He walks out slowly on his cool main character stuff. He's walking in, and everyone sees him and like says, "Oh, your hero costume looks really cool." And he says, "Yeah, thank you, thank you." So All Might draws for who's gonna be hero, who's gonna be villain. Of course, Bakugo and Ida become the villains, and is Uraraka and Deku being the heroes, like in canon. And yeah, so so Bakugo and Ida go into the building first because they're the villains. They need time to set up. They're given a minute to set up. They don't really set any traps. It's just Ida. He says how he's gonna defend while Bakugo, does what he wants because he knows Bakugo by now. He's been in school with a month with him, and knows he's kind of a hothead and he's not gonna listen to him no matter what he says. So he's gonna let him do what he wants and get beat up by Deku. And yeah, so the um sorry, Deku and Uraraka come up with the plan. How the whole plan they have. You guys know the plan, and yeah. So Deku says how he's gonna fight Bakugo, take him down, and he's gonna, well, Uraraka goes in by herself, and after he defeats Bakugo, they're gonna jump Ida and get the bomb and win. So yeah, so she's like, okay, that's a good plan, and um yeah. So they go into the building together, and while they're walking, he hears some explosions from like the room upstairs. So they run upstairs to the second floor, and Bakugo's right there on the end of the hallway, using his explosions. And yeah, and he makes eye contact with Deku, and Deku tells Uraraka to go, right, to go get the to Ida to defeat him. And yeah, so Bakugo launches himself at Deku with his explosions. He spins around and tries to hit Deku with a humongous explosion, but Deku simply just grabs the gauntlet and just flips over Bakugo. He's sent on his back, and the wind he gets the wind knocked out of him, and he's gasping for air. Deku jumps up, spins around. He's gonna like back kick. He's gonna kick Bakugo in the stomach with the back of his foot, like his heel or whatever, right? He uses one for all with it. Bakugo sees this. He uses explosion. He spins out of it. He gets back up on his feet, gasping for air. Deku, since when Bakugo uses explosion, he hit the wall when he was blasting over. So there's some like pieces of the wall on the floor. Deku uses telekinesis on them and sends them flying at Bakugo. Bakugo uses one explosion to destroy them to, nothingness. And then Deku surprise attacks him and launches himself with one for all. He uses like 10% because he's not allowed to go all out because All Might knows that he could kill Bakugo with a full punch of 40% on one of his arms. So he decides to use 10% because it feels like Bakugo, he could take it. He's a tough guy. So yeah, so he punches Bakugo square in the face, sending him through the wall, right? He's on the other side of the wall, and he's on the floor. He turns around, tries to get up, but he's pretty beat up and he's kind of tired because he got the wind knocked out of him. Deku walks through the wall all menacingly and makes eye contact with him, and Bakugo says, "What are you looking at, kid? What are you looking at, nerd?" And yeah, so Bakugo launches himself at Deku, tries to use an explosion. Deku, he jumps out of the way, and then he uses like 10% on his fingers and send like a blast of air at Bakugo, sending him flying back. And then he uses the shrapnel or the pieces of wall that was left behind from Bakugo's attack and shoots them at him. Bakugo knows what Deku's gonna do, so he puts one hand back, ready for an attack by Deku, and he uses his other hand and explodes the pieces of the wall to nothingness. Then Deku, knowing that Bakugo isn't dumb and how he's gonna be prepared for his next attack, Deku, he claps his hand like the Hulk does and sends like a big vibration of like a big gust of air towards Bakugo, sending him flying to the wall. His back hits the wall, and the wind gets knocked out of him again. Then Deku, he dashes over and tries to kick Bakugo. Bakugo dodges the kick, and Deku's leg is stuck in the wall. So some of his leg is outside, and he's trying to pull it out, but he doesn't want to break the whole building. He doesn't want to break the wall even more. Bakugo hits Deku with a full explosion, and Deku is sent flying. His leg comes off the wall, of course, and he's sent flying to the wall, and his back hits the wall. The wind doesn't get knocked out of him because, well, he has a strong stomach from all the training he's done with All Might. He gets back up like nothing happened, and Bakugo's like, "What the hell? Like, what the hell are you? You should be knocked out at least from one explosion, point blank range. What happened? What are you?" Right? Bakugo's confused and like, What happened to Deku? What I knew he was strong, but what the hell is he now? When did he get this, like all this strength, be able to send gust of wind my way? I thought he had telekinesis quirk. What is this? So yeah, so Deku in his mind says I have to tell him because he's gonna figure out. So might as well tell him soon. So yeah, so Deku says after he's finished with that thought, he says, well, I might as well finish it right now. Bakugo launches himself at Deku again with his explosions. Deku dodges it, of course, and he just hits Bakugo with like 15% square to the face, like a overhand square to the face, because Bakugo missed the explosion and it even hit Deku. Deku ducked under it, and he overhand Bakugo with 20% on his hand, square to the face. Bakugo was sent flying back. His head hits the wall and he gets knocked out. And yeah, so Deku goes back to the top floor, and he sees Ida fighting Uraraka. Uraraka was making a smart plan, making Ida miss his attack, so pieces of the wall are sent you know on the floor so she could use them and shoot them at him. Ida doesn't know this because he's too concentrated on hitting his moves, and he's getting frustrated because he can't hit her. And so Uraraka was dodging, Ida kept missing, and he gets mad and he yells a precipital burst, and his special move, basically his special move that he always had, and he launches himself at Uraraka and kicks. He misses, but some gust of wind is comes after his kick and sends Uraraka on her butt, and then Ida spins around and kicks her in the face, and she's sent rolling back, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too rough?" And she gets up, moves, rubs her nose because check if there was some blood. There was some blood, and she says no. She says, "No, you're fine. I would much rather you try than take me easy." And yeah, so Deku decides not to get in to see what her classmates have, to see the strength and like who they are, because he doesn't know how strong they are. He just knows they're not weak because they were good enough to pass the entrance exam, but he doesn't know how strong they are. So yeah, and he kind of have a sense of how strong they are because the physical test that they took the day before, a while back on the first day of school. So yeah, so eventually Uraraka wins because her master plan of getting the pieces of the wall, and Ida can't keep spamming Recipio Burst because well his like cav engines are gonna burn out eventually. So she wins because she just hits him a bunch of time with pieces of rock, and yeah. So Deku and Uraraka together touch the bomb and they win. So Bakugo was sent on a I don't know the name, what they call it. The things that doctors, a carriage. He's carried to the doctor. Ida isn't. He only got hit by some pieces of rock. He's not he doesn't need medical help. Some bandages and he'll be good. So yeah. So everybody else goes. It goes exactly the same. So yeah. So a week later, I think, of just normal school and hero training, of just training together, the class 1A, they're gonna go on a field trip to the USJ, and everybody was excited for this, especially Deku, because he wants to test his strength on like actually saving people, because he did his research on what the USJ is, and he's like, it's a rescue test field or whatever, and he wants to test his hand in rescuing people, because he was always told his quirk would be amazing for rescuing people, because all he has to do is use a telekinesis on whatever and save them. And yeah, so but he never got the opportunity to use it before, because that stuff never happens on a daily basis. Like a piece of rock is gonna fall on somebody. That doesn't happen on a daily basis. It happens like once in a while, and usually the heroes got it. So that it has happened in front of Deku before, but Deku never decided to use telekinesis because he knows he's not allowed to, because well, that's the rules in Japan. You can't use your quirk in public without like a license. So he didn't use it before. He wasn't like a vigilante or something like that. So yeah. So he's excited for this. So the day of the USJ, all the students are on the bus and they're talking about their quirks, and Froppy asks Deku like what his quirk is, and she says, "Is it like a muscle quirk, like an enhancement quirk or something like that?" And he says, yeah, kind of. I can move things with my mind, and with yeah, I could use telekinesis. And she's like, then how do you have so much strength? He says, I use my telekinesis on my arms, and they just get much stronger. And yeah, with his mind. So he basically uses his body with his mind, combines them both. Some lie, but we all know it's one for all. So yeah, so everyone's buying it except for Bakugo and Froppy. They all have that. They both have that look like okay, I guess. So yeah. So eventually the students get to UA. Everyone explained their quirk and how it works. So they get to the USJ. 13 explains to them what they're gonna be doing, and yeah. So they all chill like, yay! Finally, we could, test our hand in hero saving. And out of nowhere, like a portal comes in the middle of the plaza of the USJ, and he's like, Deku and everybody else in the class is like, what is this? Who are those people? And 13 turns around with Aizawa, and they say, oh shoot. They all look back at everybody and tell them to run. It's real villains, and everyone's like, no, we're heroes in training. We'll stay here and fight. And he's like, no, these are real villains. This isn't a game. Go now. So yeah. So everyone decides not to leave, except for some people. They say like, fine, we'll leave. No, we listen to our teachers. He knows what they're doing. But then I forget his name. The Warp Gate guy, the assistant for um oh my god, the I forget his name all the time. I can't say it. So the K guy, the main villain. I haven't watched My Hero in a while. It's been like a year or two. So yeah, forgive me if I forget some, villains or heroes' name. Yeah. So the K guy and the Warp Gate guy comes behind the 1A students and teleports them all different places. Deku still gets partnered up with Froppy and Mineta and of course himself on this ship or whatever. So yeah, so so they do the same thing. Froppy saves Deku from you know from a shark that was gonna attack him underwater, but she saves him. And they go back on the yacht or whatever, and they use the same plan. Deku uses 40% on his fist, and sends a big gust of wind on like in the water and makes like kind of like a whirlpool or whatever. And Froppy sends like gets them out of there with her tongue, and uses it on a like something on the wall and just flings himself out of there with Deku and Mineta holding her. And yeah, so eventually Deku meets up with Aizawa in the middle and saves Aizawa from he kicks one of the Nomu's punches away from Aizawa, kind of saving him. And Aizawa sees what Deku did. He's like, "What the hell? What are you doing? Don't fight the Nomu. He'll kill you. Run now. Run while you still can. Get some help." So yeah, so Deku says, "No, I won't leave my teacher here to die. Your life matters too. You don't have to die protecting us." So yeah, so Aizawa gives up, and he knows how his all of his students have a very strong will, and they won't give up that easily. And he gives up and says, "Well, I warned you." Yeah. So they both chuckle, and the gnome, the decay guy starts laughing and thinking, "Oh, what a cute time. The the heroes are having a sentimental moment, huh?" Well, I'm sorry. I apologize for having to end this moment by killing you both. And yeah, so he says, "Nomu, kill him." So yeah, so the Nomu dashes at Aizawa. Deku uses his telekinesis with his one for all and telekinesis. He grabs the Nomu, right, with his telekinesis, his arm, right, and picks him up and throws him like 2 feet because how strong the Nomu is. And the Nomu's on his back, and Aizawa he jumps up and kicks the Nomu right in the stomach, trying to knock the wind out of him. But when Aizawa lands it, the Nomu's stomach is like a brick wall. like stiff because just how muscular the Nomu is. So Nomu gets up and just backhands Aizawa out of the way, sending him flying back on his, just kind of messing him up. He's rolling on the floor and he struggles to get out because he was just thrown like 20 feet. He was backhand 20 feet away by the Nomu, like a full attack from the Nomu. So yeah, so Deku jumps at the Nomu while the Nomu isn't paying attention, uses 40% on his fist, and punches the Nomu with full force with his full body weight right in the face, and the Nomu is sent back a little by this, and yeah. So the Nomu turns around and makes eye contact with Deku and tries to punch Deku, but out of nowhere All Might comes in and punches the Nomu right in the face, sending him back, and then the whole fight with um all Might and the Nomu happens. Of course, All Might wins. The K guy and the Warp Gate guy, they go away because they teleport out of there. Because if they stayed, of course they would have been captured. The Nomu is captured, but he's a Nomu who doesn't really, you know um matter. So yeah, so the hero wins. Everybody survives the USJ attack, of course, because, well, they're the main characters, and Deku's pretty strong, so you could probably save all of them. And yeah, so the same thing happens. The UA students fight their fights, they win, of course, main character type stuff. So without further ado, this is where I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm kind of tired, and yeah. So bye.